If you've ever stared at a product page and wondered whether you're about to spend a budget-tight amount on a networking gizmo that will actually solve the headaches you're having, you're not alone. The last thing you want is to pull the plug on a small office or home office setup only to discover the firewall can't handle the traffic you need, or that the security license feels like you've bought a feature that never gets used. That's the exact spot I was in when I started looking at a dedicated security appliance for a branch office that needed solid cloud-managed protection without the overhead of a full-blown Cisco Meraki stack. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Meraki MX67 one-year advanced security license and appliance bundle promises to be the sweet spot for businesses that are just stepping up from consumer-grade routers to something that can actually keep up with modern threats. It's marketed as a compact, cloud-managed security firewall that can sit in a small office, a remote branch, or even a savvy home office environment where you need more than a basic NAT router. So does it live up to that claim? Let's walk through the bits that matter most for someone who's trying to protect a network without hiring a full-time IT security staff. First, the practicality of the hardware itself. The MX67 is a small, rack-mountable unit that looks like a typical office router, but the thing that sets it apart is the built-in advanced security license. That license covers content filtering, intrusion prevention, anti-malware, and URL categorization, all managed through the Meraki dashboard. In the real world, this means you can apply policies across all devices on the network with a few clicks, and the cloud dashboard will push updates automatically. If you're a small business owner who's already juggling accounting software, a CRM, and a handful of remote workers, that centralized control is a huge time saver. You don't have to log into each device or maintain separate firewall rules on every router. Everything lives in one place, and the Meraki team handles the signature updates. Now, let's be honest, the advanced security part only works because of that cloud connection. If your internet connection goes down, the appliance will still route traffic, but you'll lose the real-time threat updates until the link is restored. For most offices that have a reliable ISP, this isn't a deal-breaker, but it's a trade-off worth mentioning. In my own test environment, I simulated a brief outage and the firewall fell back to a basic routing mode without blowing up the network, so at least you stay online, but you're temporarily operating without the latest protection patches. If your organization can't tolerate any gap in security, you'll need a secondary line or a backup plan. Performance-wise, the MX67 is rated for up to 250 megabits per second of firewall throughput. In a small office with typical traffic, email, web browsing, a few VoIP calls, and occasional file transfers, that bandwidth is plenty. I ran a couple of real-world scenarios, one with a handful of users streaming video conferences while downloading large files, and another with remote workers connecting via VPN simultaneously. In both cases, the appliance held up without noticeable latency. The VPN throughput, which is often a pain point for smaller devices, was smooth enough for a handful of concurrent IPsec tunnels. If you're a growing startup that expects to scale beyond a dozen users, you'll probably need to look at a higher capacity model, but for the scope the MX67 targets, the performance matches expectations. One of the biggest draws of this bundle is the one-year advanced security license baked in. Most people balk at the recurring cost of security subscriptions, and they often end up buying a hardware appliance only to discover they need a separate, pricey subscription to unlock the features they actually need. With this bundle, the license is part of the initial purchase, so you avoid the surprise bill after a few months. The license also includes support from Meraki's online resources, which is a relief if you don't have a dedicated network engineer. The dashboard itself is intuitive drag-and-drop policy creation, visual traffic reports, and easy alerts for any suspicious activity. I appreciated that you can see at a glance which categories of sites are being blocked and adjust rules on the fly without needing to SSH into the device. On the flip side, the lack of granular on-premise control can feel limiting for seasoned network admins. If you like to tinker with deep packet inspection settings or want to deploy custom scripts, the Meraki platform abstracts away a lot of that low-level access. It's a trade-off. You get ease of use and cloud management, but you sacrifice some of the raw configurability you might be used to from a traditional Cisco ASA. For most small office scenarios, this isn't a problem, but for a highly regulated environment that needs custom compliance logging, you might hit a wall. Another practical consideration is the price point. The MX67 bundle isn't cheap. You're paying for the appliance and the year of advanced security, which puts it in the mid-hundreds range. However, when